Caroline Strawson, and I'm a multi-award-winning therapist and coach, literally obsessed with helping you heal the trauma, because this is exactly what it is, the trauma of narcissistic abuse. Really helping you understand it's a mind and body experience. It's not just up here, it is in your body. Because let's face it, you don't think anxiety, you feel it. You don't think anger, you feel it. So I'm really passionate about helping you heal it at that cellular level. So if you've not liked and subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please do so. I try and put out a couple of videos every single week for you to help you understand what a narcissist is, because it is an overused word in our society. If you're not a member of my Facebook group, Heal the Trauma of Narcissistic Abuse, you will see the link below in the notes. I'm also launching Narcissist Free School this year, a revolutionary new way to help you heal and thrive after narcissistic abuse. And again, if you go to my website, carolinestrawson.com, or go and look in the notes below, you can sign up to the wait list to be the first to hear about it before it launches later on this year. So in this video, I want to talk to you about really the number one scenario that can help you decide whether you are dealing with a narcissist. Now, narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health disorder. It's listed in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. Get your teeth in to say all of that. And that is with the American Psychological Association. And it's a list of all the mental health disorders that therapists use to diagnose. Now, therein lies the problem with a narcissist, because ultimately, to get a diagnosis, that must mean someone knows that there's something wrong with them, and a narcissist doesn't. So this is why it is very difficult to actually diagnose narcissistic personality disorder, which makes it difficult for you as the victim of narcissistic abuse, because when you are saying to friends and family that what you're dealing with is a narcissist, because they haven't got a clinical diagnosis, it's really like your word against theirs. And that can make it really, really challenging when you are healing, because you feel like you're having to prove. And if you are that person who feels like that, if you scroll down on my YouTube channel, I've actually created a video for you to send to your friends and family, which really helps to explain maybe what you are going through. And remember, your friends and family really will probably have good intentions in wanting to help you, but very often if you're coming from a place of a lack of self-worth and they're saying all of these things, it actually makes you feel even worse. And I say all of this in the video, so please go and have a look, and please feel free to send it to whoever you want to, in the hope that it's going to help and support you in your healing journey. Now, to be diagnosed as a narcissist, it's like on a spectrum. So there are 9 traits that are listed in the DSM, and to be classified as a narcissist with narcissistic personality disorder, you have to have 5 of these 9 traits. So that means you could be a narcissist with 5 traits, and equally you could be a narcissist with 9 of those traits. Now, every single one of us have narcissistic traits within us, and you might as well think, well, I think somebody could be a narcissist, but maybe they're not a full-blown narcissistic personality disorder as such. And that can be okay, but it can still be challenging and triggering for you whilst you are healing from narcissistic abuse, for instance. I know, for instance, my dad isn't a narcissist, but there are definite narcissistic traits that he has. And again, that created me as that lack of self, that not feeling good enough in my childhood, that led me to be a codependent and a magnet to a narcissist. So this is why when we talk about how a narcissist created, they're not born like that. There's no scientific research out there at this time that says there's a genetic link to becoming and having narcissistic personality disorder. It's formed in childhood, and we don't normally give a diagnosis till 18 years old, because things can change, and it's 5, remember, of those 9 traits. However, rather than looking at it from a clinical perspective, because I get lots of messages all the time saying, is my ex a narcissist? Is my mum a narcissist? And very often I focus on what you are feeling, because ultimately we can look at them in great detail, but that, remember, is just your perception of that in that moment. For actual diagnosis, it would be in a clinical format to actually diagnose it. But I'm going to give you the number one scenario that I believe, when I tell you what that is, will give you a really, really good indication of whether or not you are dealing with a narcissist. And I would love to know, when I tell you what this number one scenario is, if you can relate, or if you've had anything like this. And again, drop me a message. I would love to hear any of your stories below. So I want you now to imagine that you are sat on your living room floor and you are telling the narcissist in your life that you have a life limiting condition. So that might mean you're telling them you've got cancer. That might mean you are telling them that you've just been diagnosed with something. I want you to imagine if you were sat on that living room floor on your own and the narcissist was in the room with you, whether that be a partner, a parent, a friend, whoever that is, what would their reaction be if it was just you and them? What would their reaction be? Now, I know certainly for me, I had this happen to me where I was specifically asking my ex-husband, husband at the time, for something where I was really poorly. And I really didn't want him to go to work at this time because I was so ill. And I thought, how am I going to cope with the children? And I remember sitting on the lounge floor crying about this. And for me to do that, you know, most people who know me, I literally need to be on my deathbed before I do something like that. But I knew I was going to struggle because he was going away for a few days to look after the children. And they were my priority. And I thought, God, I actually don't know how I'm going to physically cope here because I'm really, really poorly. And it was like he was watching paint dry. There was just no emotion. There was nothing there. And I was literally crying my eyes out on the lounge floor. And he was looking at me like I was just paint drying on the wall. No emotion. Keyword here, no empathy. A narcissist has zero empathy. And actually there used to be a real misunderstanding because Asperger's on the autistic spectrum used to also be in the DSM. And the key difference between Asperger's, as it was known then, and narcissistic personality disorder is empathy. So a lot of people were being misdiagnosed because it looked like on the surface, maybe they were a narcissist or even Asperger's. But the key difference here is empathy. A narcissist has zero empathy, none whatsoever. So there I was on the lounge floor, looking at him, crying my eyes out. And it was almost like looking paint drying, no emotion. Now let me ask you this. So we've got scenario number one. You're telling them on your own, just you and the narcissist, about an illness, about something like that. And they can see how upset you are. How do they react to that? Now I want you to think of this scenario in line with that. How do you think they would react if you had friends or family there as well? What would they be like? Now, I certainly know with my ex-husband, he would have been completely different had, say, my parents been there. He would have been the absolute idyllic husband. Oh, Carrie, you know, I'll look after you. Don't you worry. This idyllic husband at the time. Because then what he would want is my parents to go, oh, Carrie, you've got such a wonderful husband there. You've got someone who is supporting you. So he would get, remember, the narcissistic supply, their drug of choice. They need to know that they are amazing because remember, they also have a lack of self. They don't feel good enough and they're projecting that out all of the time onto you. So think about this. If you had to sit on your living room floor and tell the narcissist in your life that you were really, really poorly, and this is just an example for you, how would they react on their own with you? Because that's going to take attention away from them at the end of the day, isn't it? And they won't like that. So how are they going to behave with you on your own? And then if they had an audience, how would they behave then? That for me is a key distinction about a narcissist, because a narcissist is all about how they look to other people. And I actually even remember, just thinking about it now, telling you about this, I even remember one time some of my girlfriends were around, and I even remember my ex-husband getting the Hoover out and starting hoovering around everybody. And of course my friends were like, wow, what an amazing husband you have. And I'm thinking, do you even know where the Hoover is as such? So again, remember, the narcissist is all about how they look to other people, which is why when they know you have found them out, they will absolutely go for you. That's when they will start the smear campaign. That's when they'll start to get the flying monkeys. That's when they will really try and act like you are the crazy one. You know, don't believe what you say. And almost then, as you're trying to justify and validate that, you're almost really playing into their hands because you're almost behaving exactly what they're saying you are like. And we don't want to do that. Again, we've got to go within. We've got to heal those inner wounds because we're never going to change the narcissist. Never, never, never. So think about this. If you're wondering, do you have a narcissist in your life? This one scenario for me is a really key aspect in you recognizing if they're a narcissist, because they will behave completely differently in private than they would in public. I would love to know your stories about all of this. Remember, I put out a couple of videos every single week. Please make sure that you have liked and subscribed. And if this has resonated with you, or you feel like, yes, I get it now. Yes, that happened to me. Please let me hear from you. And don't forget, I would love to welcome you in my free and private group on Facebook, Heal the Trauma After Narcissistic Abuse. Take care, everybody. I'm really here to help you as much as I possibly can heal the trauma of narcissistic abuse, because that's exactly what it is. So take care and see you in my next videos.